Comments from the public? Hearing none? Okay, consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, number 8.
Number
10.
10.
Wait a minute.
DAs.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, number 10. I'm sorry.
Number 10, approval of order for compliance on consent with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, resolution number 17-011.
Harry?
Thank you, sir. The city's Water Pollution Control Division is responsible for administering a pretreatment program that involves testing and reporting to ensure that the effluent of certain of our large industrial users in town that operate here are meeting the requirements of the United States Clean Water Act. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, works through the Missouri Department of Natural Resources to implement many of these federal regulations. In January of last year, the city's pollutant pretreatment program was audited by the regional office of the EPA. And based on that audit and then the city's response to certain follow-up questions, the EPA has determined that there are certain violations that occurred last year and certain actions that the city must take, either to remedy those or to take further action going forward. We've met with the EPA staff, and we've been working with them on the administrative order of compliance that's in front of you, which is we do need to execute. The violations that occurred and the actions that we need to take are outlined in the memo in your packet and we're happy to go into further detail if you like. Before you is a resolution that would authorize execution of the administrative order of compliance. We have been working diligently on all of the items that are indicated in the order that the city does need to take care of, and we feel very comfortable about where we stand, and we've been working well with the EPA staff, which has been providing us good feedback on what we're doing. So we feel confident that we'll be able to get these items taken care of by the end of the month, and recommend that you adopt the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the consent order. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Get a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11.
Alcoholic Beverages Code, restaurant bars.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the police chief, Steve Beam.
Thank you, sir. At the previous council meeting, we had a discussion with you regarding some changes to the code, one of which included increasing the number of licenses for liquor by the drink establishments that did not serve food. And while we were working through preparing the ordinance for your action on those recommendations, we discovered a contradiction in the code that we wanted to bring to you tonight and seek some clarification on, and hopefully get this resolved, and so we can bring the actual code changes back to you at the next meeting. There are two separate ordinances relating to establishments that sell liquor by the drink that have at least half of their revenue coming from food or $275,000 a year in sales related to food. So there's two different criteria that would classify an establishment as a restaurant bar. One ordinance says there's an unlimited number of licenses available. The other ordinance puts the cap at 12 for restaurant bars. Currently, we have 14 establishments in the city that are restaurant bars. So staff has obviously been referring to the unlimited criteria in recent license issuances, but our recommendation to you tonight is to take away that unlimited provision in the code and to create a cap on the number of restaurant bars in the city. Currently, we have 14. Based upon what we see coming down the pipeline with One North and some other projects that we believe are in the works. If we increase the cap from 12 to 22, that gives an opportunity for growth to occur as we envision it over the next 2 to 3 years. And if at some point we reach the cap of 22, we can come back to you just like we did at the last meeting and say, we're bumping up against the cap. Does the council want to consider increasing it once again? So that's our recommendation to you tonight, is to resolve this conflict in the code and create a cap of 22 for restaurant bars.
Any questions?
No, I read through it. Thank you, Chief Beamer. I felt like your recommendation was solid, allowing a little bit of growth, but also allowing us to be involved in the future if needed. Thank you.
Got a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 12.
Amendment to city contract with Clarkson Construction Company for Taney Mill Construction, Resolution 17-012.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the city councilor, Tom Barzee.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, excuse me, got something caught in my throat. As you recall, about a month or so ago, a little over a month ago, the city entered into a contract with Clarkson Construction Company for the improvement of the new Taney Street running south of Armour Road and then connecting over to where the jewelry store is going to be located. We have that obligation. That's under a contract right now with Clarkson. Then the developer has the obligation under the master development agreement to enter into a contract, and it just so happens to be that through his process, the bid process he went through, he ended up with Clarkson Construction Company also to build what we call the spine road, meaning connecting all the way down to 16th Avenue. That contract, since the city has the legal obligation under the master development agreement to approve his contract with the developer's contract with the contractor, that will need to come before you. Ultimately, though, the city has the obligation to pay for those improvements to our infrastructure, if you will, throughout the development area. That contract we had hoped was going to be on the agenda tonight, and it was not able to be on the agenda tonight. It didn't get finished. And I still don't even have a draft of it. I had comments on their original version, which was inadequate, and they've decided to go a different way to meet the city's concerns. So it's not something they've ignored, but it's taking more effort than they thought. We have a problem, though, and the problem is this. All of those trees down in the development area have to come down prior to March the 31st of this year, or we have to basically wait almost a year to get them down because of environmental restrictions and protection for the northern long-eared bat, okay? And they have to be cut down and brought to the ground. And since this is really beyond what you call a change order, if you will, because it's not within what we would deem to be part of the overall scope of the services that we had entered into the contract with Clarkson, we thought, though, we could amend our contract with them, since we already have one and since we're paying anyway and since it's the same contractor, we would amend the contract to include the cutting down of these trees only, not the removal, et cetera, of the stumps. That'll be in the future under the other contract. But this would allow them, Clarkson, to get in there in the next week or so and start bringing down approximately 11 and a half acres of trees, okay? Trees that I think that are a diameter of 3 inches or greater. There might be some little scrawny things left there, but basically they will be cutting them all down. And that would be to the tune, as you'll notice, of $71,277. And that would be, therefore, an amendment to our contract to change the scope of the work by calling for this work to happen, and then increasing the amount of our contract by the $71,277, but also then reducing the contract that the developer is going to have by the same amount, the $71,277. And so what we have before you is, a staff recommendation that you consider this. You'll notice in the exhibit, the aerial exhibit, if you look carefully, hopefully you can see where the blue kind of messes in, but it shows where the trees are coming down, and it'll essentially be all the trees down there in the southwest portion of the development tract.
Any questions? Yeah, Zach?
Just a quick question, not on the contract, and everything you've explained seems plausible and we need to get it done. I'm assuming, and maybe Sarah can answer this, once we get the streets built and all that, we're gonna be replanting some more trees to make it look all pretty and,
Yes, we will be planting trees along the street, and we also expect that there will be trees included in the site improvements that will be done as the properties are developed.
thank you.
Just for my own curiosity, I had one question is, why we have to comply with the US AC 404 regulations?
Because they told me they have to. I don't, I do not have, do you know the answer to that, Eric?
No, sir. We just know it's a federal regulation, and apparently, from what I understand, it's a common one around here in the Kansas City metropolitan area that.
Yeah, it deals, like if you're working around wetlands or a river or
Yeah, and
something like that, but.
Sarah,
So the area on the south end that used to be included in the Cloverleaf off-ramp is considered to be a wetland. And there's also some area down there that they think might be considered as jurisdictional waters. I don't really understand why, but primarily it's because of that area being considered a wetland.
So the 404 regulations will apply to just that area where the land is?
I think that they've provided notice about the entire development, but that's where the predominant identified wetlands is down on that south end.
Okay, all righty.
But the plan is to remove all the trees, not just
Yeah.
those that are in that wetland area, correct?
Yes.
Plan is to remove all of the trees that are greater than 3 inches in diameter.
Okay. And then I had one other question. Tom, are you concerned at all about our ability to get that contract finalized? Or have you seen anything that
Oh,
makes you
no,
concerned
no.
about that? Okay.
No,
It's
not
just
at all.
running behind and,
Well, what they did is that, to be candid with you, they came and they sent us like a 10-page contract for us to approve between the developer and Clarkson to build the Spine Road, and it didn't have a lot of stuff in it. And then Eric, bless his heart, reminded me that the development agreement requires for an AIA contract, and so I reached back out to him and I said, this is what the development agreement requires, and I'm expecting a lot more to it, so they can do that. And then they said, well, how about if we have the same contract that you have with Clarkson? And I said, well, that'll be fine too. I'm sure the council will be fine. It's not technically an AIA contract. In fact, it's not even an AIA contract, but it covers all the things that need to be covered. So I do not anticipate any problem at all. It was just getting it to all the people that have to review it and approve it. And we were really concerned about missing this opportunity to get these trees down.
okay. I have no concerns, thank you.
Move to approve?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 13.
Change order Vernon Street Water Line Extension Project.
Eric. Thanks, sir. I'll call on the Public Works Director, Pat Hopper.
Good evening. The relocation of an 8-inch water line along the west side of Vernon Street was made necessary because of the construction of the new Vernon Street Bridge in 2014. The road district engineers determined that the existing 8-inch water line was in the way of the bridge. And they went on and built the bridge, knowing that the city would have to relocate it later. The scope of work included connecting a new 12-inch water main from the southeast corner of Taney and Vernon Street and extending it north across the hillside levee to connect with another existing 12-inch main. Upon completion of the installation of the 12-inch line, the contractor was to abandon the 8-inch main that is now encased in the bridge. The installation of the water line was completed in late September, and the contractor, Kissick Construction, began work toward abandoning the 12-inch line when it was brought to their attention that there was an error in the construction plans. The plans that were prepared for the cities, by the city's on-call engineering company, Schaefer, Klein, and Warren, specified abandoning the existing 12-inch line rather than the 8-inch line that was actually in the bridge. And although the mistake was caught by city staff before the wrong pipe was abandoned, approximately 15 feet of the 12-inch main was removed and concrete thrust blocks were installed in preparation for the abandonment. So Kissick submitted a proposal in the amount of $12,260 for restoring work that has been completed in the wrong pipe and for the additional work to abandon the 8-inch, which should have been the plan all along. A budget amendment for this is not necessary because additional funding is not needed. Approval of a change order is necessary for this additional work associated with abandonment of the 12-inch water main, and that will complete the project.
Thank you. Maybe I misread it here. So the 12,000, we don't have to approve extra funds for that? Or-
Right. We had a contingency in the.
Oh, you had to continue. Now, one question I have, okay, I'm cool with that then, but one question I had is that since SKW is the one that prepared these construction plans, and the construction plans were faulty on that amount as far as the different lines, instead of the 8-inch line, it was a 12-inch line that they put in the construction plans. Shouldn't we be going back to SKW and saying, look, I think you all ought to pay at least some of that, or if not all of it? I think that's on them, that they should pony up for that because they're the ones that made the mistake.
I was positive that question was going to be asked of me. And the answer is we are working with SKW on this issue.
We have put them on notice that we also believe that this work should be paid for by them, and they are investigating the matter, but we'll
Okay, all right.
continue
As long
pursuing
as
it.
we're checking it
Yep.
out. So we don't have to approve any extra funds. It's in the contingency, a change order.
No, sir.
Okay.
Now, how soon will we make that?
They're scheduled for Monday. They're going to begin repairing the one that they started, the wrong one that they started on, and then once it shouldn't take more than a week, 7 days, maybe a week and a half. Not that
Okay.
much.
We got a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 14.
Approval of public safety sales tax brochure.
Derek?
Thank you, sir. Last November, we had a work session in which the fire chief, police chief, and I laid out a proposed strategy for using the half-cent public safety sales tax, which the city hopes will be approved by voters in the April 2017 municipal election. And council did indicate approval of the general strategy that we laid out for using those funds for adding folks in, primarily for adding folks in both the fire department, adding folks back into the police department, and then using a substantial amount of that to offset our budget deficit, which we've had for a number of years now. And so based upon council having provided that direction, we have developed the informational brochure, which is in your packet. And before we proceed, we just wanted to make sure you'd had a chance to review it and provide any input and indicate your approval. Assuming council approval, our thought would be that we would mail this out to all residences. That's what we did last year with the out-of-state sales tax. Early to mid-March. We don't want to go out too soon. We want it to be fresh in people's minds when the election comes, but we also don't want it to be too close to Election Day, which I think is April 4th. So with that, just like to see if the brochure that's in your packet meets with your approval. As a reminder, we're not allowed to advocate in any kind of piece that is produced by the city, so this is intended to be purely informational. Other groups out in the community that might be interested in supporting this are free to do that. And I've had some indication that there might be folks who will be doing that, but ours is intended to just be informational.
Can council members support it with
Yes,
their
sir.
constituents? Okay.
Absolutely, as long as no city money is being spent.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah, Bear?
I know this is just a draft, I just want to point out that the webpage on the front of it, the URL for pagegoeshere.com, that will be changed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have just a couple things. One, I think it looks really good, so overall, I think it looks great. I just have a few little points. If we're gonna say the Great Recession hit in 2008, I think that needs to be capitalized.
All right.
Unless you want to change how that's worded. And then my only other thought is, on the question that says, doesn't the city receive significant funds from Harrah's Casino? Why is another tax necessary? At the end of that section, it says, the city will not be reliant on gaming revenues were they to somehow end in the future. But my recommendation is to say somehow end or reduce in the future, because I think we're seeing a decline over the years of gaming revenue. And then are we supposed to put paid for by the city of North Kansas City if city funds are not used, like not supposed
We in
to be
fact
used?
have to do that.
You in fact have to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. That's my feedback, thank you, but I think it looks great.
We'll be happy to make those changes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Looks good.
I think it looks good.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 15.
Approval of purchase fire station apparatus bay doors, resolution number 17-009.
Eric.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the Battalion Chief Dave Hargis from the Fire Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here tonight to ask for approval to purchase new garage doors for Stations 1 and 2 in the amount of $235,000. If you remember, this was originally budgeted in the last budget year. We were going to do bifold door replacements. There was an issue with the size of the doors and the amount of space available to put those doors in, and we weren't able to use those types of doors, so we've sent it out for RFPs and come back, and we're now asking for the approval to replace the doors. If you have any question, I'd be glad to answer them.
Couple of quick questions. Do we know like a lifespan on these doors, these new doors? How many openings or how many years we think they'll last? Was it? I thought that was the old doors.
The new doors are slightly more than the 50,000. They're a different, they're not hollow core doors. They're a new type of structure door. They're a lot more efficient doors than what we have now.
Okay, and then the budget amount was 235,000, but we're only gonna use 121.
That's correct. That was our low bid for
That was
the
okay,
doors.
so the rest of it would just be encumbered back, I'm assuming?
Just be
Or
returned to the
maybe-
fund balance.
Mhm.
That pays for the new fire chief's car.
There you go. Okay. Just curious, thank you.
Okay, we got a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 16.
Agreement with Mid-America Regional Council, Operation Greenlight, resolution number 17-008.
Eric.
Thank you, sir. I'll call on the Public Works Director, Pat Hopper.
In 2009, the city entered into an agreement with MoDOT, KC Icon, and the Mid-America Regional Council to participate in Operation Greenlight program. It involved traffic signal improvements along Armour Road and included new software, hardware, video cameras to synchronize and monitor traffic signals. North Kansas City did not pay anything for over $96,000 of improvements. Since 2010, the city has contributed annually to Operation Greenlight for the maintenance, upgrades, and operation of the system. Operation Greenlight involves synchronization and monitoring of traffic signals to obtain the best traffic flow possible in given situations. The timing of the signals can be changed depending on circumstances. For instance, if there's a wreck on I-35 and you can't get through, they can change it to be green longer on westbound Armour Road, and that's happened many times. So the 2015-2016 agreement has expired, and a new 2-year agreement with Operation Greenlight has been submitted for consideration of your approval. The cost to participate for all members within the region is $1,600 per year for each monitored intersection. The city has 7 intersections along Armour Road that are monitored, so the cost of the participation for the next two years is $5,600 annually.
We don't have any on Burlington?
No, that's MoDOT.
MoDOT, right.
They are synchronized,
They are synchronized, but we don't pay for it.
right?
Oh, I like that.
They would like us to take over.
Does this go up every year, the costs, or
Not-
are they pretty stable?
It's been stable.
Yeah, no questions, thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 70.
Indemnity agreement for Snake Saturday parking lots, resolution number 17-010.
Eric.
Thank you, sir. I'll call Mr. Barzee.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is a document that we pretty much bring to you each year prior to Snake Saturday. As you know, Northtown Devco owns the parking lot that's just south here of Armour Road that we use extensively during the Snake Saturday activities, and they don't charge us to use it at all. But if something happens, they don't want to be responsible for it, so they ask us to indemnify them. And so there's a basic and they are asked Northland Festivals to do the same, to indemnify them. There is also a separate indemnification letter there that sets out our insurance. We are in the process of each year, we verify that with our carrier to make sure we have that coverage. And we will not, the city clerk has assured me just a few minutes ago, she will not allow the mayor to sign this until we have that back from our insurance carrier, okay? And so it's not going to get signed immediately, but in order to keep the process moving, since we're about closing in on being a month before the event, we felt that we needed to get this to you tonight. So do you have any, it's typical what we've done for years, I might add. And like I say, Northtown Devco, NTA Realty, they don't charge us to use it. So what they're asking for is probably not unreasonable.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 18.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through February 3rd, 2017. Bill number 7171, ordinance number 8968.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through February 3rd, 2017.
I move the bill number 7171 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 8968.
Second.
Call a roll.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Stewart?
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Kistler?
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearman?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through February 3rd, 2017.
Okay, Eric?
Thank you, sir. Just one staff comment that's in your packet, unless anybody else on the staff has anything. And that's regarding the YMCA financial report for the previous calendar year and their budget for this calendar year. In the previous year, 2016, the facility experienced an operating deficit of $217,000, as opposed to a budgeted operating deficit of almost $600,000. So they did do substantially better than had been budgeted. In addition to covering that deficit, the city also pays the YMCA a management fee based upon a sliding scale of how well they do in keeping deficits down. And so including that management fee, a transitional fee that we paid for the second of 2 years, covering the deficit, a small amount for capital expenditures, all in all, the former community center, now the YMCA, cost the city about $511,000 in the last calendar year. In terms of the next year, the operating deficit that the YMCA is budgeting is some $470,000. Of course, they were substantially below the budgeted deficit this year, so the hope might be that they would better that, but that's the current budget. I have provided detail for you in the memo that's in your packet based upon the input that the Y provided me. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. Otherwise, I can forward them on to the Y.
do we know why they're, and again, we hope they beat their budget again. So I guess actually they're budgeting a lower deficit than they budgeted for this year, is that right?
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
A lot better than where we were.
Amen.
That concludes staff
Okay.
comments. Thanks.
Is that it then?
Yes, sir.
You're up, Bill. No comments tonight.
You know, I don't have any comments tonight either.
What?
Can you believe that? No?
Well, he's been in Mexico for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I've been out country too, so I don't have anything.
Fred?
I don't really have anything, but I will. Everybody should remember Valentine's Day's coming up.
I had an experience today with the water department. It was all positive. Had an exceptionally high reading on my meter. Had a gentleman come out from the water department, helped me solve my problem. Very, very knowledgeable, very easy to get along with. Hopefully I have it fixed. But commend him, tell him thanks. I told him more than once, just really, really good to get along with. And they came out 10 minutes after I got home from City Hall, so it was amazing, the response time. Just thank you.
None tonight?
I have nothing. Thank you. I have several comments. Sorry.
Of course.
Right at the end. Well, I wanted to say thank you to Chief Beamer for his work, as well as our Liquor Control Director on the revisions of the ordinances regarding liquor control. So thank you for your work on that. And I think it's exciting to see the progress on 1 North, and also Phase 4 of the Gardens is coming along, and I think people are living there. And
It's beautiful. You go inside that place, it's amazing.
yeah, really?
Oh,
Looks
yeah.
good.
If you get in there, take a look at it. They've really gone all out.
It looks great, and it's coming together pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
then I'm just looking forward to Snake Saturday, since we approved all of those. I get whatever for Snake Saturday. I'm ready to go. That's it.
Yeah. I was talking to her. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. I guess it's up to me. It's up to you. Thank you, Mayor. I'm good. Okay, number 22.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes, Section 610.0213.
So moved.
Aye. Roll.
Councilmember Sanders.
Aye.
Councilmember Clevenger.
See,
Councilmember Stewart.
Yes.
Councilmember Steffen.
Yes.
Councilmember Farr.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Kistler.
Yes.
Councilmember Lodahl.
Yes.
Councilmember Pierman.
Yes?